Hi YouTube. We're going to get ready to take care of one of the pieces that we talked about prior to this. This is the housing assembly on the rotor machine, the rotor lathe. And what we've done is went ahead and made a piloted arbor for this one, going down in between the spot that was actually still good and hadn't been chewed up. So I'm borrowing a page from Bruce Witham's book here about, all the setup is wonderful and great, but if you've got a straight bore, why not use that? We are going to clean up this one and see where we wind up, and then we'll set the other side to this. Just there. Alright. It's cleaning up very nicely. Give you a shot of what I'm seeing. Got one little spot on the other side we're going to take a look at. We're going to introduce that. Okay. I have bigger boring heads, but this one has a lock right here, and this setup right here, we'll put just a couple thousandths on it. You set these up on a whole pressure inward and then set the lock, and away we go again. Okay, we are going to touch this up, and we're shooting for that 800 thousandths target, or more or less a little bit, because the bushings are going to be made hopefully together, but if not, they'll be made separately, but with a slight difference. I'm using the one of the inexpensive Banggood boring bars here because this is just some aluminum and it's very small. Should not be a big problem. It's so tore up inside, I didn't really even have a good spot to get a reading on it. And it's still not great, so let me come in and feed out 5. It's cleaning up nicely like the other one. I'm going to feed in the last little bit. There we go. Okay, better. Let's take a reading. I would turn on my air compressor and blow this out, but it too lives in the house of Dobbs Broken Things. My tank's just starting to weep at the bottom, and somehow I have a visual image of a high pressurized tank blowing up in my face. That's 803. It's going to need a little bit more, and it's not cleaned up like the other one, so I think this was a little softer. It took the more of a brunt. So we're going to go ahead. That's why I left the other one in the boring setup. So if I need to chase a few more thousandths, I didn't have to have another setup. So for once I was patient. Not my strong suit. Alright, we'll feed in like 6 and see how that works for us. My other camera's charging up, or I'd give you a picture in a picture here like the big guys do. We're still working our way towards that. See what I'm seeing. Getting there. There's that booger I'm trying to get out of there. So, won't be much longer. We'll have that done. Sorry for the camera thing. I'll try to edit it out. Alright. Let's go another, call it 6. Both boring bars seem to do just fine. Loving a collet chuck. Still has that booger from where that was thrusting. You see that too? So we're going to get that out of there. So the bushing will make good contact. Alright. Let's go 10. Let's just get this over with. So we should be about 30 thousandths or in that range more than the other side. Action shots. Not quite there. Take another 7. really thought the other side was going to take most of it, but this must have been a little softer, or the way that it was thrusting. A little bit more of it. It's gonna take a little bit more, for sure. Wall thickness still looks to be okay for this bushing. Bushing will add more strength back in anyway. We're turning at 240 RPM, really slow speed. This isn't very deep. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
I pulled this stupid sump pump out.
Okay, we're finishing up spring pass here. And trying to get everything squared away. It seems to have cleared up. We're coming in at like 845 or in that range. So we have got a little bit of boring to do to the other one to match this one, which is fine. That'll be a thicker bushing. So you can have a look. Pretty much got all the trash out of there. Alright, so we'll bring it out, measure it, and make the other one a match. We'll bring it back. Not too bad, a bore finish. Got it just ever so slightly, but I think it's going to be just fine. Alright, let's go get the other one done. Alrighty then. Thanks for sticking with us. Still got a few chips here. Again, I gotta get my air compressor squared away, but I don't see anything wrong with that. I got a few chips laying around, but I got to bring it in, and it was at 849.5, so we were shooting for, excuse me, 845. Sorry, that's what I was shooting for. And both of those parts are 845. And I found a candidate in my scrap bin, which is, let's double check ourselves here. 875, and internally roughly 650. We're going to run the boring bar through that one just a little bit. True it up, but I think we have a candidate for our bushing. So we're going to turn down the outside diameter, we're going to true up the center, and then I think we're going to start assembling this thing. Stay tuned. Alright, we're taking our first pass on making this bushing set. We're taking this one down, just took a straight cut of 10 just to clean up the gunk on the outside and find out what size it really is. Not turning it fast, not going crazy. Using high-speed steel just because that's what I had on hand. I have a lot of carbide stuff, but this will work just fine. A little tight fit there. Target is 845. We're going to be north of that. You're at 869. We'll try here. Yep, 869. 845, so we should take, let's go another 10, just sneak up on this thing. We're in no rush. Okay, we've brought her in on size. I've got this one housing right here. I'm checking the fit. That's a bushing. Don't see much of any play there. I'm just fine with that fit for a bushing, you betcha. I'm going to clean that up. The next step I've got to do is come in here and clean up this board just a little bit. It was, I think, just kind of boogered. I'll run the boring bar through there just ever so lightly, and then we'll part these off. We'll go ahead and put the Loctite on them after we wash them down with acetone, and then we'll be in some pretty good shape. All right, bring you right back. Okay, we've continued to soldier on, and we've kind of selective fit this right like that. Nice fit, no play, and again I know it's only going to go one end, but nice fit. Gave it about 2 to 3 thousandths worth of clearance, just because it wants something for the oil to sit in there and surround this thing and maybe help prevent the calamity that it saw the last time. Alright, we're going to part these off the link now and then get these bushings done. Okay, we've got the gear assembly back together. This is just refreshing. This is off of the ammco 7000 brake lathe. We've got the gear set in. We're going to take this shaft apart right here so we can go ahead and clean that out. There's a little bit more play. Bring it up, maybe you can see it a little easier. A little bit more play than I want. Let's see if we can come up with a washer to fix that. But I'm going to go ahead and get this apart so we can get it cleaned up. This gear itself is working pretty good. Again, where I centered up on this, put the new bushings in for both sides. This is the opposing side here. Sets in there, so it's caged from the bottom assembly and it's caged in this assembly. And this assembly right here on this tube is actually mounted in with a couple of bosses, so it's been set in. So that's going to provide the support. We've added those bushings, and if you remember from the first couple of segments that this was hogged out something fiercely. So we are going to lock those into position. But first we're going to finish taking it apart and cleaning this up. This is held in by a roll pin, so we're going to take that out. And yeah, I know my bench. Alright, we're finishing up pushing this out. Surprisingly, that worm gear was pretty hard. We're going to finish tapping this out of this housing. Or attempting to. And as you might guess, it's been just a smidge stubborn. Yeah. As far as technique, I was dragging my pinky along the backside to try, hopefully not drop this thing. Okay. One of the beauties of YouTube, there is a roller bearing set up in there. And I'm betting it's been hogged out pretty good. It's not completely awful. The race where it was hitting is not completely destroyed. Based on this, it turns very slow RPM. I think the cage is still there. I think we're going to clean that up and run with it. I've showed this to you before, but maybe it wasn't as clear as you might want to see it. You can look at that worm gear, look at the depth over here, and the depth over here, and the depth of the working surface. Yeah, it got worked hard at the very tip. So I think it's going to be fine, but I wanted to get this out of here. Give you a good working shot of it right there. I think it's going to be fine. The issue I have is that I think, well, in an update, we were able to put the gear housing back together again. The gear mesh is pretty good. This is what I meant by a sliding fit. As the carriage comes in and out, this actually pins onto the drive mechanism. It has to slide out and maintain contact. So it is working. Feel of it, and don't feel anything nasty. So I also like to thank Pierre Baudry of Pierre's Garage for his insight. Very kindly took a look at the video and gave me some good pointers, and we'll add those to the list of things that I'm learning, and we'll move on from there. Thank you, Pierre, and we can't thank Pierre without thanking Phil. Okay, there you go. See you later. Hi everybody, sorry about the fan noise, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of an update. On the previous one I showed you that we had the drive mechanism for the output going into a shaft, which comes in and feeds the automatic feed mechanism. The little drive shaft comes right out here and fastens onto this, and in turn drives this gear here, and in turn drives this gear here, which is squeezed in between a clutch mechanism. This doesn't have a direct linkage as far as gear-to-gear drive. That wouldn't be a great idea on the kind of tool that it actually is when you're cutting a rotor. So it works through friction, but there's an engagement mechanism in the back, and I'll show you that I might have gotten lucky tonight. And I was digging around trying to figure out how to engage it, and looks like I accidentally maybe caught a brake. So when I picked it up, this right here, I didn't know exactly what it was, but it looked like it was gunky and dirty enough that it looks like it belonged to it. So I picked it up, and the more I looked at it, the engagement rod runs right through here. There's a straight shaft, and underneath this, from the initial taking it apart, there was a knob that comes out here which you engage and disengage it. So it's okay, there must be something engaging with that rod that allows it to actually engage over here. So let me grab that rod. Well, with the change of plans, it's on there a little bit more thorough than what I thought, but I just brought over the knob for orientation here. So the knob sits out here and the straight shaft goes through here, and the shaft itself, looking at the way it's set up, it's a for lack of a better term here, it's a straight shaft. I'd use this to illustrate in place of the knob that you actually pull and engage. And it looks like the way this is set up, I'll turn this in the right orientation, this piece I found broken in the housing. It was under the grease and the gunk, you couldn't see it, and I got to looking, and eventually I figured out that it sits on this opposite side, and it fits in here, and it serves as a pivot. So it pivots in the housing. This is the engagement arm. There is a pair of roll pins right here, just like that basically cage this. So as you engage and disengage, it pivots on this portion here, and this is actually the moving element here, which goes down inside, and then there's a matching, I'm going to call it not a synchronizer, but basically like a blocking ring out of a manual transmission, and that is what engages it in and out of drive. So you pull the knob, it engages, you push the knob and it goes out, you pull the knob, and so forth. So that's kind of how it works, but I did catch a big break, and this being there, even better, this is magnetic. So looking at it, it looks to be probably cast iron. So there is a chance that even though I don't have a lot of luck with cast, I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to braze that back together after cleaning it up a lot and get it brought back together, put in position. And I think if I clean that up and I V that out really nicely, it's probably going to be repairable. So I do have some brass rod. I'm going to take a look at that. I think I'll either use the brazing rod, or I might go ahead and get some silver solder and use that, so maybe some 56% silver, and see what that would do. But that is a great, because I didn't have one of these, didn't really understand exactly how it worked because I've been working on the gear drive, and I think I caught a break, so I'll be able to put that back together. And barring any other major catastrophes, I should be able to get this thing running within a couple of days or so. I'm back again. I was able to get a pretty good shot of that down inside with my iPhone. It's going to be maybe a little hard to see. I think you get the general idea now. The slotted part right there is where that little gear goes, the little pin goes into, and it's pushed longitudinally in and out. And if you can notice right here, you can see the geared dogs right there, where you push that in and it slides over and then locks into position. So just want to add that because it seemed to be a pretty good picture. There was no way I was getting the camera down in there well enough to do it.